Hey guys, Nick here. Just a disclaimer for this episode. There's some pretty heavy emotional content in this episode, so keep that in mind. Listener discretion is advised. Also, there's a lot of sexual abuse discussion in this episode. If you or someone you know is a victim of rape, abuse, or incest, the RAINN Network, or RAINN, they have a national sexual assault hotline that you can call for help. That's 1-800-656-4673. Again, that is 1-800-656-HOPE. If you or someone you know is a victim of rape, abuse, incest, any type of sexual assault, that hotline is open to help you. We hope and pray that you get the help that you need and reach out to the proper outlets to get all the things available to you. So just keep that in mind while you are listening to this episode. On to the episode. Court. Okay.
There we go.
Okay, you good?
Bet you missed that Control R, don't you?
I don't even know what it means anymore. I don't know what anything means. Okay, welcome to a new episode of the Brohio Podcast. This one's gonna be a little like, this is one of those remote things where Rob is probably, I don't even know where he's at. Where are you at, Rob?
I cannot speak of my location.
I like it, dude. Ever since you started getting these government contract jobs, you've been a little more secretive about your shit, dog. And I like that.
Yeah, man,
I like that about you.
I'm constantly on the move nowadays. No, really, I'm just a fucking idiot and messed up, and I had to get dropped off at Nick's house to do the interview, and then I forgot we were doing an actual episode after the fact, and my ride came and got me before we could even do the episode. In reality, I just wanted to get out of there so I could come home and grab some beer because I forgot to bring it over.
I had a lot of beer, dude.
No, I'm just joking.
Now, we already recorded the episode with
Yeah.
Cheryl Pierson-Cuccio, and she did such a tremendous job with us. She's such a sweetheart, and we're beyond thankful for her coming on the show and doing the interview, because, man, it took a lot of courage to tell that tale, honestly.
Oh, absolutely, and I commend everything that she's doing now, and is that the right word, commend?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
you definitely nailed it.
Okay,
dude.
good. After I said it, I was like, wait, is that the wrong word? No, it's a beautiful thing that she's doing now, and, using her voice and her experience to help other people that may have gone through the same thing, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, let's get off, that was kind of a long interview, so let's hurry up and get through our Patreons real quick.
Yeah, buddy.
I'll let you start it right there.
Well, go ahead and start. I don't think I have the doc yet.
You don't have the document?
Nah, man. Let me see here.
Maybe I shared it with Jake the Snake Roberts, because I typically.
Let me refresh here.
No, it says I shared it with you.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, first off, on our Patreon list, did you get it?
I'm pulling. There we go. No, wait.
Okay.
No, I definitely don't have it.
What a half-assed operation this is. I shared it with you. I'm going to share it with you again. Share. I shared it with you again. I'm just going to run through these Patreons real quick while we're going. First on the list, we have Reno Barker, as in Reno, Nevada. Reno Barker, thank you so much for your Patreon pledge. Next on the list, Alexi Law. Alexi, that is definitely a porn star name, Rob. I'm completely unfamiliar with anyone named Alexi Law that is not participating in pornography photography. So
make
Alexi
that money,
Law,
girl.
Thank you for make that money, girl or boy or nothing. We don't want to assume anything.
I'm not assuming, but yeah, make that money.
Yeah. Next up, we got Jake Burke's Pedo Stash, because it's not It's not a Brohio episode unless someone identifies themselves with a pedo stash. Thank you. Next on the list we have Ginny Condom Life. Living that condom life. Conleafy. Isn't this great that you can't even read the... you don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about right now?
No, I have literally no idea what's going on. I just refreshed and I still don't
Are you checking your traditional email that you always check for notes?
Yeah, man.
Oh, okay. Well...
I don't know.
I'll keep going. Here. Next up, we have...
You got this, man. You're doing great.
Thanks, Brandon Tierney. Brandon Tierney, thank you for your Patreon pledge. And I really appreciate the video you sent us of you doing the bad stuff to yourself. Next up, we got Juan, Little Schlong, No Puffy Nipples, Delgado.
Wow.
Juan wanted to be completely transparent to the fact that he was, he did not have puffy nipples. So he wanted to make that abundantly clear.
He had to reiterate. I've got it now. I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay.
It just came through.
I'm lost. We got two more here. The Creep Show podcast. So go check out the Creep Show podcast. And last but not least, we have Rodney Hosky. Rodney, thank you for your Patreon pledge, sweet baby girl. And if you would like to hop on the Brohio Patreon train, go to patreon.com/Brohio podcast. And we have two very special podcast promos to play for you guys this week. Both these guys, I was in a podcast group and someone was asking for advice. And I said, hey, here's some advice. And then one of the bros reached out and said, hey, dude, I never thought I'd fucking see the delicious Nicolicious in the podcast group. And I'm all about helping people that want to build podcasts and helping people that, if you're trying to build a podcast.
Not me, though.
Okay.
I'm joking.
No, I won't help you.
Don't fucking talk to me.
The first one... Both these guys, both these shows are from. It sounds like they're from Great Britain, like they're from over the pond. But both of these guys have really good shows. I'm sorry, both of these group of guys. The one podcast, the one's called "But It Was Aliens."
Ooh,
and God damn it, the next one is I have to go find.
You had me at
"But It Was Aliens."
You had me at Aliens.
But they have really good. They do all kinds of interviews with all kinds of cool people. And the next one is Pursuit of the Paranormal.
Nice.
Both of them are really good shows. Go check them out. And here is the promos for both of those shows.
Yeah.
Howdy, howdy.
Howdy.
We are But It Was Aliens, the extraterrestrial comedy podcast where each week we probe a real-life alien case to prove to humanity that aliens exist. To make us laugh. We hope that you'll join us, but until then, here's a little snippet of what we do.
There are different training rooms at MIB headquarters.
I took 3 classes in throwing stars.
You ever killed a man with a pyro? I may also give Kev's left nut for this car as well.
My nuts have been through wars, son. Wars.
They've earned their stripes and their hairs. I've got goosebumps.
And remember, these are literally official videos.
So were they like whack-a-moles? They kind of go down and then pop up and they're shooting, but they're crap shots, so they just keep missing?
Remember, these guys live in a farmhouse. There he goes, Elmer! Get the good jabs!
How many greys do you think you've killed over the years?
19 pretty much for sure.
Because that day, even though I was a kid, I knew for a fact that what we had just witnessed wasn't human.
The only way that I could describe it was that there was a shadow stood there.
I believe that it's potentially, I'm not saying 100% definitely, but potentially a real abduction caught on video camera.
Join Ash and me every Tuesday as we explore some of the lesser known but fascinating unusual stories from our unknown world. With the latest paranormal and UFO news, a look back at historical cases, and special guests joining us along the way, we aim to pursue the paranormal from a different point of view.
Pursuit of the Paranormal with Ash and Greg.
Okay, and we're back, Rob. How about the the magic of recording remotely and recording. I don't know what I'm. It's
pretty great.
Next.
Pretty great, man. I like it.
Yeah, it's really great. I'm gonna skip the article this week because we have a long interview, and we want to get this show on the road. I think that typically, whenever you tune into a Brohio show, you're expecting a certain level of tomfoolery, I believe is the word I'm looking for. Robert, is that correct?
Sure. I would definitely agree to that, yes.
Robert Dog. But this episode, yeah, okay. Whenever Rob just wrote "I'm gay" on the shared doc we're using after I said we're going to try and
this is our shared doc.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I think that a few weeks ago when I reached out to the author of the book that we're covering, it's her name is, well, for the, I guess, the purposes of research, and her story, she's Cheryl Pierson, but she's since been married and she is now Cheryl Cuccio. She authored a book with her husband called Incest, Murder, and a Miracle. Let me blow it up right quick. Incest, Murder, and a Miracle, the true story behind the Cheryl Pierson murder for hire headlines and the power of love. And you guys can go to Amazon and you can get that book in the Kindle form for, it looks like $9.99 where I'm at. The paperback version is $18.99. It is worth every word written in this book. It's an incredible love story. That's the most powerful part about all this is it is a powerful love story, man. And just the testament of her and her husband, it's just it's powerful, and it's it gives you such a new perspective on, I guess, the abuse that children go through, the sexual abuse that children go through, and how the shit can follow you and be a haunting demon for your entire life.
Oh, definitely.
And like I said, we kind of, whenever we do our show, there's a certain amount of tomfoolery. But when I reached out to Cheryl, she was very specific about, I don't like to have my story portrayed in a negative light. And I assured her that her story would not be portrayed in a negative light on our show. And one thing that we pride ourselves on is, as god-awful as we are, we always treat our guests on our show with the utmost respect, and we give them the platform to tell their story, and we give them the platform to kind of, just say what they're all about, and whatever
Definitely.
movement. Yeah, just it's a.
I feel like with interviews, we kind of have to handle them a little bit differently than what we do our main show. So I mean, it's with the subject matter that that we're gonna touch on here, it's almost wrong to go about the way we would normally do things, and and it's we're doing these interviews so that people can tell their story, and who are we to say otherwise, or it's not always just about us and trying to make people laugh all the time. Sometimes it's just as important to shed light on some really important stuff that a lot of people don't think about.
I couldn't have said it better myself, buddy. But in starting here, so Cheryl Pierson, she's going to be Cheryl Pierson for the beginning of our story, for the duration of our story, I guess. But at the age of 15 years old, Cheryl Pierson had to stand over her mother's casket and promise her that she would protect her little sister Joanne at all costs, no matter what. So immediately we're
It's a powerful first line right off the bat.
Yeah, we're drawn into the fact that just a 15-year-old girl Cheryl is at this point. She's already going through one of the most traumatic things that a young girl can go through. Cheryl was dealing with the death of her mother at a very young age, but it's important to understand that she promised her mother that she would protect her little sister Joanne at all costs, no matter what that cost was. on the outside, it seemed like Cheryl Pearson had it all. She was a popular cheerleader. Everyone in high school loved her. I know that's such a cliche way to portray a story, but Cheryl, it almost seemed like she did have it all. But underneath the pretty smile, she was unfortunately shouldering hurt and pain that no teenage girl should ever have to carry. And that's kind of the tone for the story. Is she was fighting through a lot, man. She was dealing with the ultimate struggle, the ultimate darkness that any teenage girl could go through. And Rob is not. You're kind of learning this story for the first time right now, right, Rob?
Yeah, I know the pretty much the TLDR version.
Yeah,
but I don't know like all the ins and outs that you do. So I'm ready to learn some of the little things that make this story whole.
And that was the most important part about reading the book for me. Is it helped fill in the blank spaces for me, because there were so many things that are online about her and her story. It was kind of it wasn't fair to assume anything about her. And after she wrote me back right away, and she said, "Look, please read my book, because you're going to hear a lot of bad things about me, and I'm so tired of people portraying me in a negative light," which I don't see how anyone could take this story and try and spin it in a negative light, but people have, and people have done it. Yeah. So Cheryl, she was born in Long Island, New York, which we thought, when we talked to her, she had a real thick Long Island accent, and I really liked her accent. I thought it was I thought it was a wonderful accent. And even her husband was
for sure
was there with her, and he said, we're not putting this part in the episode. We talked to him really briefly to tell him, we thought the world of him as well. And I made a joke. I'm like, "Hey, Rob, man, and Rob is her husband's name. He's got a really thick Long Island accent as well." I said, "If I need to go hide some fucking bodies, and he's like, "I got plenty of places to hide some bodies." He was all about it. He was kidding around with us, but still, it was really funny that he was ribbing with us. But Cheryl's father, his name was James Pearson Sr. He was an electrician, and her mother was a homemaker and a stay-at-home mom. At a very young age, Cheryl's mom became ill with a terminal. I think that she had some type of blood or kidney disease. I think I read, and I'm sorry that I don't have this information 1,000,000% correct, but I believe I read in some research that she had passed from a kidney disease, but I also believe there was a blood disease possibly involved. So I'm not sure exactly which one. And out of respect to Cheryl's story, you can definitely find out all the specific logistics of her mother's illness in the book. This, unfortunately, that left Cheryl to kind of be almost like a sole. She was the sole parent for her younger sister, but more importantly, while her mother was battling her illness in the hospital, it left her father as the sole parent in the home. And this guy was, for lack of a better term, was a strict fucking asshole, okay? And she talks about this in the interview. He ruled the house with fear. And the hardest part for me to grasp in this story is having little girls, having daughters is such a it's such a blessing in their just their sweet nature, and just the love that you can feel from having just perfect little girls in the house is such a it really tugged at my heartstrings the entire duration of the research for this episode. And to see how he was hurting Cheryl, it was fucking killing my stomach, man, to read some of this stuff and to see what he would do to his daughter. But we're gonna get to that here.
Yeah, I mean, it's you hear like with boys, which is my life. You hear the mama's boy, and you hear with you have the daddy's girls. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. It's like it's that relationship that it's just I don't know, man. It's like, how could you do something?
Yeah, no little girl should ever have to go through this. But the way he made the way he acted towards his children was absolutely horrific. She explains in the book that when they would eat dinner, he would specifically require them to eat their dinner in a counterclockwise pattern, which they would have to eat their vegetables, potato, meat. Vegetables, potato, meat. They couldn't, me personally, if I get some mashed potatoes and gravy on the plate and I get a run with these mashed potatoes and gravy, I'm going to get into these mashed potatoes and gravy. You feel me, Rob Dog?
You're scooping up everything as you go, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm shoveling in. But unfortunately, Cheryl's dad didn't see things that way, and he was very specific about how he wanted them to eat their food, which, man, such a controlling way to... I can't quite put my finger on it, but
yeah, that's no bueno.
They weren't allowed to drink until their food. I think that's what she said. They weren't allowed to. They weren't allowed to drink anything until their food was completely done. They weren't allowed to.
The same way with my house.
Really, and
Yep.
My wife says the same thing. She had a fucking horrible stepdad. I've never really touched on my.
We have that in common.
I've never really touched on my wife's story before, but man, my wife has a story that isn't too far off from what Cheryl went through. And she talked about how she had to eat her food in a certain way and she wasn't allowed to drink until she was done eating. And just, I was surrounded by love growing up, man.
Yeah.
Aside from, my dad never tried to make out with me or anything because he was, he was a man's man. But my mom and dad, they really treated me like royalty. I don't want to say royalty, but I came from a really good home, and it's so hard to imagine that the person you completely depend on for all facets of your life, for love, for understanding, for, support, those people that you look to just treat you like you don't even deserve to be on the earth. And I don't know how I would ever fucking cope with that, dude.
Yeah, man, I could never do that to my kid personally, but I know. Yeah, that's how I kind of grew up too. So it's like,
sucks, man. I hope it. I know, dude. You're like, I don't want to be gay for longer than 8 or 10 seconds right here, but
sure, man.
You're a good
that's all I need.
You're a good fucking dad, man. And
thank you.
You
same to you.
Thank you. But you came from. I had a good model to follow, but you
right,
dude. I don't know where you learned it, man, but you do a good job. So
it just do the complete opposite. That's what you gotta do.
Yeah. I feel you. So Cheryl was also left to take care of her little sister. So from a very young age, Cheryl was completely the mother figure for her younger little sister Joanne as well. She shouldered all of the responsibility in the home that I guess, I don't want to say that there's certain motherly duties in the home, but Cheryl was left to do all of the cooking, the cleaning, all of the things that in typical, I guess 1980s, what the mother would, I don't want to say, it's the mom's job to cook or that it's the mom's job to clean, but those are all of the responsibilities that she took on that an 11-year-old shouldn't have to be in charge of.
Right.
Unfortunately for how horribly James treated his children, he was somewhat respected in the community by many people. Cheryl said he was known as a man's man. He was always, she had an older brother named James Jr. He goes by Jimmy. But she had an older brother, and he would. Her dad was horrible and mean to Jimmy as well. But he spent a lot of time with Jimmy through sports and I guess those type of bonding experiences. So he was, he was kind of well known in the community and had a lot of friends, and people kind of respected him. And even after through everything that happened, they still kind of said, that was a good man, but you're going to learn through the story here that was not a fucking good man, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely not the case, right?
Yeah. Cheryl took on her, like I said, she took on the mother role in the home at an age of 11. You may find yourself asking why this fell on Cheryl's shoulders. at such a young age, seeing how she had an older brother in the home. Well, Jimmy, her older brother, he fucking left the house as soon as he could because he hated being around their father, and he kind of all of the responsibilities in the home just kind of defaulted to Cheryl at this point, and he could not stand the way James Sr. ran the house. At the age of 11, she started going back and forth, for lack of a better word. So her father would drive her to the hospital to visit their mother, and her dad started to condition her, I guess, and prepare her for the sexual abuse that she would endure. They had a station wagon, and he would put Cheryl in the middle seat, and he would put his arm around her, and he would scoot her closer, and he would progressively start touching her more and more. He would, she said in one interview that he would, grope her chest, and then he would move lower and lower, and he was almost conditioning her for what he had planned to do to her. And it really broke my heart when I heard this because she did an interview with the To Catch a Predator guy, Chris Hansen,
yeah,
and it was on the True Crime Daily channel on YouTube. But in the interview, she spoke about some things, and it really broke my heart because she said that she kind of had a lack of affection from her parents. There was no hugging and kissing, and she never really felt that love in her life. She didn't, and I'm not saying that she had a bad mom. She really spoke wonderfully about her mother, but she said she just didn't, it wasn't a super affectionate home, so she really didn't oppose his advances at first because she kind of felt like, well, maybe this is kind of what love is supposed to feel like, because she wasn't 100% certain what it was supposed to feel like. And it really, it fucking broke.
Yeah, I mean, without some sort of standards there, I mean, you don't really know what to expect. Like what's like emotional support and what's not, what passes that. It's
and it fucking crushed my heart that she said, when I was a little girl, it was so confusing for me because I'm thinking, is this the way that this is supposed to be like? And the fact that she even had to weigh that on her little heart, man, it crushed me that this fucking guy was doing these things to her. And she had to sit there and think about, like, well, is this the way that a dad shows love to his daughter? And it was, it hurt me, man. It brought a tear to my eye at the time that I was reading, or the time that I was hearing the interview. Unfortunately for Cheryl, things did get things didn't stop there. So at the age of 11, he called her into the hallway or a portion of the house where the attic entered. In some houses, you pull the steps down from the ladder to the attic or in the ceiling, and you pull the ladder down, and you can climb the ladder into the attic. Well, he called Cheryl over, and he was going to have her climb the ladder to go in the attic. And and for those of you that have, I guess this is a really graphic situation here, and the duration of this episode is just kind of, it's graphic for lack of a better term. He asked her to go up the ladder to get something, and then when she started to go up the ladder, 11 years old, he pulled her shorts down, and he penetrated her from behind. He raped her at the age of just 11 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And it didn't stop there. It as disgusting as it was, it didn't fucking stop there, Rob. This didn't stop for many, many years. If she tried to reject his advances, he would become violent towards her, and she spoke about in the interview how she oftentimes had marks and bruises, and her friends knew that. And her friends would go to the school and say, Cheryl is covered in bruises and marks, and the school would do nothing because Cheryl wasn't the one coming to them to tell them that, she was being hurt. And she was afraid to come forward because this man, like I said, he ruled with fear. And she was so afraid to cross him the wrong way, and so afraid of getting hurt, and so afraid of him hurting her sister, that she was terrified to come forward to ask for help. And he had her convinced that everybody in the community was working for him. Like, the cops were watching her for him, and the people at school were telling him what she was doing. But we'll get into that more here in a little bit. And he was a very, very violent man. There was one incident, and she talked about it.
Yeah, she did.
They were at the hospital with their mom, and the dog got left inside for a little longer than, I guess, the dog could care to hold his bladder, and the dog peed inside the house. And he was so pissed off about this dog peeing in the house that he kicked the dog so fucking hard that the dog died. And this was, I believe the dog's name was Coco, and we kind of bonded with Cheryl over our mutual love of dogs, and I'm glad we did. But that was, the dog meant the world to her, man, at the time, the way she explains it. And he kicked this fucking dog so hard that the dog died. And
it's crazy.
I don't know what kind of human, I mean, hurting kids and hurting animals is kind of all in the same, not the same bag, but it's just the fucking lowest of low of a human.
Yeah, it's just the complete disregard of someone or something else's life.
And I try and take into consideration that we are talking about her dad, and I didn't want to ask her that. I didn't want to say, so, like, what at the end of the day, how do you feel about your dad? Because she should never have to answer that question. But I feel like, without me putting words in her mouth, that he was, he was the fucking slum of the slum. I believe that she wholeheartedly feels that, and that's without me putting words in her mouth. But oh man, it is such a touchy subject because I'm so emotionally invested after talking to her and after going through the book and all that stuff. Cheryl would oftentimes, and he would rape her repeatedly, and he would force her to have sex with him, her father. Anytime that he wanted to be pleased, he would force Cheryl to have sex with him. To help cope with what he was doing to her, Cheryl would oftentimes cover her face with a pillow while he was engaging in sex with her. And she said that he was fine with that as long as he could get what he wanted. He didn't care if she covered her face. And when she would tell him no and tell him, I'm not doing that, he would make it bad for everyone around him. Everyone would feel his wrath if he was, if she said, no, I'm not giving in to you, I'm not doing this. So she would get to the point where she would just give in to him and let him do whatever to her, so that all of the people around, her younger sister and all the people around wouldn't have to deal with how violent and angry he would get whenever she would, turn him down. And I can't imagine how, I don't even want to think about what those fucking conversations sound like. I just, not
at all.
I wish that she's in a lot better spot now, and I'm thankful for that. I hang my hat on that while going through the story that Cheryl is in a lot better spot now. And you have to think, and during this time, her mom was still alive, but there was in the back of her mind, I can imagine she was hoping that her mother would eventually come home from the hospital, and that once she did come home, that her mother would put to rest all the bad things that were happening to Cheryl, and that she would be able to stand up for Cheryl. Well, from the age of 11 to 15, her father kept on sexually abusing her, and it didn't stop, and her mother never came home. Like I said before, at the age of 15, Cheryl's mother passed away. And in an interview with Chris Hansen, she talked about all of the people coming to the funeral and saying, oh, you know, she's not suffering anymore. She's in heaven. She's watching over you. But to caveat that, Cheryl could not bear the thought of her mother, like everyone said, you know, your mother's watching over you. Well, if her mother is watching over her from heaven, her mother is inevitably seeing what is transpiring between her and her father. And that was fucking heartbreaking to me, man, that she, at that age, and you got to think, this isn't a woman that's going through this. I mean, she's a woman now.
Oh, yeah, right.
She's just a little girl whenever she's going through this. The age of 15, I mean, in her mind, she's thinking, Mom, I know you are watching over me, but you are going to see some things that you're not going to like. And she's trying to rationalize this in her brain, and I can't, man, it hurts my soul to even think about these things. In the book, she talks about how she stood there over her mom's body talking to her, telling her, Mom, I'm doing the best I can, but he is doing bad things to me. And it is fucking hard for me.
That's heart-wrenching.
To do what I need to do to be a good person whenever he is doing these things to me. And Mom, I am so, and she talks about it really candidly in the book, and she's, you know, talking to her mom in this room alone. She said, Mom, he's doing shit to me, and I can't stop it. I don't know what to do, but I will do everything I can to protect Joanne, the little sister. She promised her mom that she would do everything she could to protect Joanne from her fucking monstrous dad. And
what an awesome person.
Yeah. And with the death of her mom still weighing on her shoulders, Cheryl was also trying to find her way through high school. So such a formidable time in your life, such an emotional time in your life, not only to be going through high school, but to have the weight of all of this fucking shit on your back, what your dad is doing to you, your dad's raping you, and you have to be coping with the death of your mom, the only shining beacon of hope in your entire life is now gone. So it's like you're on a fucking deserted island with a monster at this point, and there's nothing that's gonna, there's nothing or no one that's just gonna save you and pull you out of the situation, is probably what she felt like.
Right, like high school isn't hard enough on, you know, just dealing with the day in and day out stuff, and
she's going through all this during fucking high school, dude. It's just
yeah.
But there was a shooting star. In gym class, she met Rob Cuccio. Rob was immediately drawn to her, and I think he talks about in the book. He said there was a, you know, I think we all have to do it in school where there's like a square dancing thing where you have to get a partner and learn how to dance. And he said,
so weird.
It's a fucking weird. It's stressful too, man.
It's like you go to school and it's like I need to learn how to do math, you know, write sentences. Nah, fuckers. Here is how do you do the boot scoot and boogie.
And I remember whenever we did in school, I think we've talked about it before, but I had a fucking gnarly bowl cut, dude. All through school, I had this chubby face, and the only way to accentuate this chubby, stupid fucking face was for me to have this bowl cut. Well, the day before Boot Scoot and Boogie Day, I had to go to my I have an uncle that owns a beauty salon, and my mom took me to him to get my hair cut. And I go to this beauty salon, and he's like, "What do you want?" I said, "Give me the old steady, the old usual. Give me the bowl cut. I want a 2 on the sides. Fucking straighten up the bowl around the top, okay? You don't do anything funky with me. I got a big old boot scooting boogie thing tomorrow." And he cut my hair in like a crew cut, not like the haircut I have now. He cut it into that. Fucking destroyed my bowl cut, dude.
And I just also want to say that every time you talk about this uncle, I automatically picture the guy on Mrs. Doubtfire that does his makeup.
Oh yeah.
I automatically picture that man every single time.
Yeah, it's about right too. But he cut my fucking hair, and this is in the middle of winter, and he spun me around to see the mirror after he was done, and I said, what the? And I was in 5th grade, dude. 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I was so fucking mad. This is the dead of winter. I remember I was wearing, I had a Dallas Cowboys starter jacket. I put that motherfucker on, and I walked out the front door of the hair salon, and I started marching down North Dixie in the middle of the winter. And my mom's like, get back in the fucking car. And I'm like, you fucking ruined my life. My life is over. This will never be the same. I cannot be around people. I am an ugly monster. I felt like the dumbass hunchback from Notre Dame is what I felt like after I got my haircut. And in retrospect, it didn't look bad. It looked a lot better than my bowl cut. But at the time, I'm thinking, I gotta go to the motherfucking boot scooting boogie tomorrow. I gotta get down, turn around, go down, do the boot scooting boogie. I had to go do all this without my hollowed bowl cut, dude. They took that away from me, and
you were robbed.
I had it completely planned out, and this gets a lot worse. I had a jean shirt that I loved to wear. It was like my favorite fucking jean shirt. I was going to the boot scooting boogie in my Canadian tuxedo, and that morning I got to put on my jean shirt, and this motherfucker had I had tripled in weight since the last time I wore it, so I was entirely too chubby for this shirt. And I put this thing on, and it was screaming for mercy. It's like, take me off this motherfucker. So then my mom's like, I don't have anything for you to wear, because I wanted to wear something to button up, like a camp shirt, something. Yeah. And then my dad's like, I probably wear his big brother's shirt. My brother's 10 years older than me. That's how fucking fat I was. So they dressed me up in the dumbest orange flannel shirt that anyone could possibly wear in the history of the fucking world. And I had to go do the boot scooting buggy with my dumb orange flannel shirt and my bowl cut missing. And it was the most miserable day of my entire life, Rob Dog.
That's great, man.
It was the worst day of my life. So they're doing the boot scooting boogie time at Rob and Cheryl's school, and Rob, with his thick, she called him the Italian stallion, which I really love.
Love it.
He's like, oh, you motherfuckers can stay away because she's mine. He let everybody know. I think he was I want to say Rob was a grade or 2 ahead of her. I know he was a year older than her, but I'm not sure what the grade difference was. He said, all you motherfuckers can stay away because I'm dancing with Cheryl. And, she kind of had like this she didn't really fuck around. She did not like Rob at first. And she said that in the interview. She said, I didn't like him at first. I thought he was annoying. I think she said that exact word. She said, I thought he was annoying, which I thought was funny. And she struggled with him at first because she had like this, don't take any shit attitude, which rightfully so, after all the things that her fucking dad was doing to her. She wasn't going to go to school and take shit from anybody. And she wasn't taking shit from this dude either. So Rob had to really, really work on her. And it wasn't until Rob was like, all right, I'm done. He started chatting with some other girls. And then Cheryl saw him talking with these other girls. And she's like, oh no, he likes me. These fucking bitches can move on. These chicken-headed hoes can move on. That's my Rob. And
I was literally getting ready to say chicken head. Like, get out of here, chicken heads.
Yeah. And she said, that's my boy. So, that's kind of when they became a thing. And Rob was able to break through, and him and he and Cheryl really started to like one another, and they started dating. But it was, and it was almost like she couldn't even refer to him as a boyfriend. She could only refer to him as a friend. But her dad knew that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. But she was only able to maintain a relationship with him under the strict eye of her father. So Rob would always have to go over to Cheryl's house while Cheryl's dad would keep a very watchful eye on them. But Cheryl's dad really seemed to he seemed like he liked Rob at first, and Rob would help out with chores around the house. That's just a testament to how fucking solid of a dude Rob was. He would help out with chores around the house because Jimmy he'd skirted out and he wasn't living there anymore, and mom had passed away, so there was a lot of things around the house that he could essentially help Cheryl with. But unfortunately, the warm welcome wouldn't last for long, though. James would start to engage in a power struggle with Rob. He would make Cheryl sit on his lap and kiss him on the cheek. And any time that her dad would, anytime Rob was over, he would make Cheryl like go out of her way to kiss him on the cheek or make Cheryl sit on his lap. And anytime this happened, he would shoot these really fucking stupid smug looks at Rob just to say, hey, look, she's mine.
He's just trying to alpha. He's trying to alpha up.
Yeah, and it was really weird for Rob because it was like James was trying to portray the fact that, hey, this is my girl. When, okay, it is his daughter, but it was Rob's girlfriend. But Rob said he was getting a vibe like James wanted it to seem like Cheryl was his girlfriend, not his daughter, and it was just a really weird vibe that Rob was picking up. He would one point Cheryl was getting ice cream because Rob would come over for dinner, and she was getting ice cream for her dad and Rob, and she served the ice cream to Rob first, so her father fucking smacked her across the face with Rob there. Shit. And some of you are like, well, why fucking didn't Rob, why didn't he do this or why didn't he do that? Well, first of all, he was like a 16-year-old kid, and James was a big burly dude, and he was everyone was afraid of him. I think at one point they said that he was kicked out of the Little League for screaming at players on his own team, and that takes I mean, back in the 1980s, you were allowed to scream at kids, and so for this guy to be fucking screaming at kids so much that he got kicked out of the Little League, and people in the community were just like, people were afraid of him. And she even said that about him. She said that if someone crossed him the wrong way, he would fuck them up. Like, he was not a nice guy, and he was not a little guy. He was a mean, big, nasty dude. She said that he was, her father was recording their phone calls, so she would call Rob and talk to him. And one time they were on the phone, Rob's like, hey, what are you doing? She said, I'm licking on an ice cream. And Rob said something along the lines like, I got an ice cream cone you can lick on. Or, just typical fucking, lovebird 15, 16, 17-year-old shit. Although if I ever hear my daughter talking about licking on anybody's popsicle, I'm coming for him. Typical teenage stuff, man.
Naturally.
And as soon as she got off the phone, her dad was like, so you want to do what to Rob? And come to find out, he was recording their phone conversations. So he had a recorder in the basement, and she literally couldn't talk to Rob about anything on the phone without her dad finding out. And then also her dad would always know everything that she did at school, and he had Cheryl convinced that the principal was working for him. The principal would watch her and see what she was doing, and then the principal would report to James every day. And it's like James always knew everything that she was doing, even whenever she wasn't around him. He had Cheryl convinced the police were watching her and reporting back to him. He had Cheryl convinced that the teachers and the principal was reporting back to him, and it was just a fucking... No matter where she went or what she was doing, she felt like someone was watching her and reporting back to her dad. That was such a...
Yeah, it's just
feeling, man.
a big psychological game there.
And the more and more Rob was around, the worse things would get. The worse the touching and the kissing and the setting on all these things they just kept escalating. And it got to the point where her father, James, he knew how much Cheryl was kind of, head over heels for Rob. And he was, during this entire time, he was still raping her and molesting her. So whenever he would rape her, he would say she couldn't fucking stomach it. Like, it was disgusting, and he knew this. And she talked about how bad he stunk and how bad his breath was, and just a horrible picture she paints in the. I mean, she paints a picture of a horrible experience.
Yeah.
She talks about how bad he stunk and all this, but she said that he would see that she was disgusted, and he would say, well, why don't you pretend I'm Rob so you can enjoy what I'm doing to you? And it's so...
Oh, my gosh.
Just the fact that she had to go through that, man, is still just... It's weighing on me, and it's tough. And he would say if, if you don't have sex with me... that Rob wasn't allowed to come over. He would constantly hang him over her head and make her do these things just so that he could get what he wanted. And at this point, he was oftentimes raping her several times a day, to the point she said that her genitals were constantly in pain, and she couldn't get over what was, the trauma of it all, because he was doing it so many times a day, and it was getting to the point where he was doing it so many times a day, but by the end of it, he couldn't, like, the duration of the sex, it would last fucking forever, because he had already done it to her multiple times in the day.
Wow.
And I know these are not details that maybe we don't need to put in the show, but I want to paint a very vivid picture for everyone of the traumatic experiences that Cheryl was going through, and to prove the lengths that she was pushed to was worth it. And her biggest fear started to come true when she realized that her dad was starting to prey on her younger sister. So she went She went out to watch fireworks with her friends and Rob one night, and when she got home, her younger sister was laying on her dad's bare chest in the bed with him, and Cheryl knew this is how it all started for her. And she looked in the bedroom and she saw this going on, and she said her dad gave her this kind of smirky look that said to her, keep on going out with him, keep on going out and doing things, and keep on running around, because I'm gonna do bad things to your sister too. And he'd even kind of hinted at that before, like, your sister's not safe. If you keep on neglecting things around here, I'm going to, do bad things to your sister. So rightfully so, Cheryl had a hard time allowing physical touch with Rob, her boyfriend. She didn't really like to be touched by him. Maybe not necessarily she didn't like to be touched by him. She just didn't like to be touched in general, man. Rightfully so. And I should correct myself there. Just didn't like to be touched in general, understandably. And this was hard for Rob to get over. He was a 16-year-old guy, 16, 17-year-old guy, and he wanted to be intimate with his girlfriend, much like any 16 or 17-year-old teenager does. And they broke up. And okay, sorry, we kind of lost each other for a second there, but I think we're good again. So, yeah, and to where I was before, she was understandably having problems with him touching her, Rob touching her. So they broke up, and this was fucking insurmountable emotional pain for her when they broke up, because the only kind of bright spot in her life at this point was Rob, and they broke up. So her dad would mock her and make fun of her, saying he only wanted to get in your pants, kind of making a mockery out of Rob. And she became very, very depressed, and she was losing a whole bunch of weight, and he would talk about how much weight she was losing. Rob had graduated high school at this point, but they got back together the summer after, so right about the time school started, when he was starting college, or after he'd graduated high school, they got back together. And he would, a lot of people asked her, and she talks about this, why she didn't go to the police, why she didn't run and tell someone about what was happening. And she said that her father had betrayed to her that he was friends with the police. The police would never believe her, that they would believe anything he said, and the police would report back to him and say, you know, that, and she was so scared that what he would do to her and what he would do to her little sister that she wouldn't turn to anyone for help. So there was a point around Christmas where Rob and Cheryl, they were back together, and they had talked about a bracelet, an anklet bracelet that he was going to get Cheryl for Christmas. And she kind of knew that it was coming, but she didn't know it was coming, but she was kind of expecting it. And she was so excited to get this anklet from Rob for Christmas. But then at one point, I think Rob was going someplace. I'm not sure where he was going, but he got a speeding ticket, and he had to pay for his speeding ticket. And he told Cheryl, he's like, you know, I got this speeding ticket, I have to pay for it, so I'm not going to be able to buy you the anklet for Christmas. And she was kind of devastated about not getting the anklet for Christmas. But in all actuality, he had already bought the anklet, and he had it put up in his nightstand, or in his dresser at his house. But somehow her dad picked up on the anklet thing, and he took Rob in the garage, and he said, Cheryl was expecting that anklet, and I expect you to buy it for her. And
wow.
Yeah. And but then he also said, do you need the money to buy the anklet? Because, you know, she's expecting this thing, and it's what's going to make her happy. But Rob was thinking about it. He's like, you know what? It kind of seemed like he wanted me to take the money so badly, which he'd already bought the anklet, that he wanted me to take this money so badly just so that he could have a little bit of satisfaction knowing that he actually paid for the anklet. And it was kind of
knowing that she would get so much enjoyment out of a gift, that he contributed to in some sort of a way.
He would still have power over the situation. Almost like he craved that power. And eventually, so she did get the anklet for Christmas, and Rob paid for everything. And she said, you know, that was a really good Christmas, but that she was only allowed to wear it whenever Rob was over, that her dad would immediately make her take the anklet off, which is kind of fucking sick in itself as well.
Yeah.
And eventually Rob and Cheryl got into an argument of some type. And Rob finally blurted out, he said, I fucking know what is going on. He said, I know that you and your dad are having sex or you're sleeping together. And Cheryl was completely flabbergasted that Rob knew this, and she denied everything at first. Well, Rob kept pressing, and for nearly an hour they talked, and she confided in him finally, and she said, yes, you know, he is having sex with me, and I am not willfully doing this with him. He's raping me, he's molesting me. And Rob said from that point forward, it was like his fucking life duty to make sure this girl found her way out of this situation. And it was like his life duty to make sure that she was taken care of for the rest of her life. And
that's a good man right there.
Yeah, that's some heavy shit, man. That's a man right there. That is you know, there's good people that do good things, and there's just, and that was exactly what that moment was a good man doing a good thing.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he didn't have to sit there and, you know, take that weight, you know, and make it like his goal to help people. You know, that's something he didn't have to do, but that's something that he chose to do. That's you know, really stepping up. Commendable.
And about this time, he there was another instance of James raping Cheryl, and she had lost a lot of weight, like she said, because she was depressed, and the weight was kind of falling off of her, and her breasts were starting to get a lot smaller, and he was fucking complaining while he was raping her, like, you're getting too goddamn skinny, your breasts are going away. And Cheryl was thinking, you know, maybe if I can just keep on losing weight, he just won't want me anymore. And this is about the time that she heard a news story while she was eating dinner. You know, she wasn't allowed to look up from the dinner table. But one night while eating dinner, she heard a local news story about a woman named Beverly Wallace, who was a local teacher who had hired someone to kill her husband. And she said, you know, what a great fucking idea that would be, to hire someone to kill my fucking dad, to get me out of this hell, essentially. So the morning after a bad night with her dad, she sat up all night long thinking about this Beverly Wallace case, about how she hired someone to kill her husband. She sat next to a guy named Sean Pica in homeroom. And the reason these guys sat close to one another for all of time is because it was always alphabetical order. So his last name was Pica, her last name was Pearson. That's kind of how they were always close to one another. And just in a moment of just down desperation, she said in homeroom, she said, who would be crazy enough to kill someone for money? And without hesitation, this fucking Sean guy says, I'll do it. You know, how much?
Sure.
Like, I'll fucking do it. And,
all right.
You know, there's a lot of different theories here about why Sean said he would do it. Some people claim that he was in love with her. She didn't say that at all, but there's people that kind of theorize that, and that's not my theory, but that's just one of the theories that are out there. And
you could definitely understand how someone could draw that
that conclusion. Yeah,
sure.
But you know, it's not for me to make that conclusion.
Yep, not at all.
And he said he would do it for $1,000. Okay, and which is fucking
okay.
I feel like in the grand scheme of getting someone whacked, $1,000 is not that much money.
No, definitely not. But hey.
And without any hesitation, Cheryl said, my father is the one that I want killed. And he said, $1,000. And that was the end of the discussion. There was no money exchange. There was no further discussion. There was no further planning as far as Cheryl knew. Okay. Now, she did say something to Rob about it. She said, you know, there's a guy that said he would kill my dad for $1,000. And Rob, he said, you know, let's not do that. Let's just fucking run away. You know,
let's not do that.
He's just being rational. And she's like, no, we can't run away. I can't leave my baby sister. He'll find us. He'll fucking kill all of us. And that's how she felt. So then Rob's like, okay, maybe we need to think about paying this guy. So then Rob checks this dude out, and he sees that he's a goddamn pipsqueak. And he's like, there's no fucking way. There's no way that he would be able to kill your dad. No way. So they keep talking about it back and forth, which I shouldn't say they keep talking about it. Like there was a lot of... Cheryl says in the book that the conversations were minuscule. There was not many discussions beyond that point. It was kind of like in passing, hey, who would kill someone for $1,000? And this guy's like, I'll fucking do it. You would think there'd be a lot of planning after that point, but she said that no, that it was kind of like a moot point. There was kind of a loose agreement that he would do it, but she didn't really think that it was going to happen. You know, it was kind of almost like a fucking Fantasyland make-believe thing. Well, in gym class, she was doing her cheerleading stuff, and this fucking Sean Pica guy walks by and says, I'm going to do it. And she's like, yeah, fucking right. This guy's not going to, you know, whatever. Sean claims that he was paid $400 to you know, $400 up front to do the deed. But he's in his interviews, all of his interviews are different, and he's kind of like, oh, well, yeah, you know, he kind of speaks in vague terms like that aren't really clear. Whereas in all of Cheryl's interviews, she's very matter of fact, and she does not deviate from her story at all. Where Sean's story is kind of like, you know, she kind of insinuated, she kind of, he's kind of all over the place. Like, it's kind of hard to I don't know. It's kind of hard to believe him, just she seems so matter of fact and just doesn't deviate.
You can tell.
truth.
You can tell when someone is like. Sorry. Yeah, you can tell when someone is confidently telling something that is truthful.
Yeah, and that's
as opposed to someone who's. Yeah, it's just it's the way of speech. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I definitely get that vibe. Like she was not lying and that he was being shifty, but that's not for you or I to decide, I guess. So things were quiet for 2 or 3 months at this point, but then on February 6th, 1986, Cheryl woke up for school and she went to let her dog outside, and she looked outside and she saw her father laying face down on the ground. She ran out there and started screaming his name, "Daddy, Daddy, wake up, Daddy, Dad," or what the fuck is going on? Which I kind of feel like, in all actuality, she's hoping he fucking hit his head and
didn't wake up,
fucking died, and he was not answering. So she went and got the neighbors. The neighbors said that, he just fell on the ice. He's going to go in the ambulance. He's going to go away. He's going to be fine. There's a little bit of blood. He just bonked his head. So the ambulance comes and takes him away. At this point, she's in the house with her little sister, and she's just thinking, Dad slipped, fell, hit his head. He's going to the hospital. The police come inside and said he didn't fall. He was shot 5 times. He was dead. So that day, Sean Pica woke up. He took a .22 caliber gun. I don't know if it was a pistol or a rifle. I heard that it was a rifle, but I don't know if this guy was marching around he said that he just walked freely through the neighborhood. He hid in the shadows, and when Cheryl's dad came outside, he stepped out of the shadows and shot Cheryl's dad 5 times. They made eye contact. Not a fucking word was said. He gunned the dude down in cold blood, and he left. No one saw it. No one heard it. He did the deed and got the fuck out of there. The police kind of didn't believe. They didn't think that she had done it right off the rip. They knew that Cheryl wasn't the one that had pulled the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Cheryl didn't even think that Sean was the one that did it. Sean, in his interview, he said that he was paid $400 up front to commit the murder, and he used the $400 to buy a .22 caliber or whatever. There's no fucking .22 caliber anything worth $400. So I find that really hard to believe that he was I'm thinking he probably just took stole somebody's gun or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't think
that sounds a lot more believable.
Yeah, but he was he essentially did the deed, whether it was 100% agreed upon at this point. He did it anyways, and Cheryl was so unsure of the plan that she didn't even know at that point that Sean had did what he did. She just holy shit, there's a lot of people, he kind of talked about it, but he was never really serious about it. There was a lot of people that could want her father dead. He was a fucking raging dickhead and asshole. There was a lot of people that could have very easily stepped out and did this, but he wasn't exactly sure who it was. It was her understanding that Sean was kind of had loose lips at this point, and things at the school started to buzz, and she was under the impression that Sean had probably told some people at the school that he was possibly the one that pulled the trigger, though he never said that in his interview. He never said that, but she was kind of, how the fuck else would they find out who? I feel like that would be a pretty, just some random kid at the high school was the one that pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
So they wrangled Jimmy, which is Cheryl's older brother, and he's like, I didn't fucking have anything to do with it. And then they interview Rob, and they say, we know exactly what happened. You're the one that killed him. You killed her dad so you guys could run away. And Rob was the son of a police officer. And he said, I did not fucking kill that guy, but I know who fucking did kill that guy. It was, it was the guy. I'm gonna pay the guy. And it's kind of, I wasn't really sure. It wasn't really clear at this point how, if they had already paid him, because in the book it says that after he was dead, they went through the, okay, yeah, that's my confusion. So as soon as he died, Cheryl's aunt came over and kind of assumed the parental role of the house. Well, Cheryl's aunt knew that James had a safe inside the house and that there was various items there was cash in the safe, and she knew that to be on the lookout for this safe. And immediately after the death of Cheryl's father, Rob came over and they went to the safe and they got $400 out of the safe, and then they paid the fucking guy. They paid the guy the $400. So there's no way that he could have used that money to buy the gun that was already used to kill the dad. Yeah. They, and then I think sometime later they bring Rob in for questioning. They're like, we know you did it. We know how you did it. And Rob said, no, you fucking don't, because I did not do it, but I paid somebody to do it. So he kind of, he rolled over and kind of, snitched on himself at this point. He tells them everything, and he says, but hold on a second. You got to know why I paid to have this motherfucker smoked. He is a monster. He is hurting this girl. He is molesting her. He's raping her. He's doing horrible things to my girlfriend. And the police are kind of listening to what he's saying. Rob said he was completely fucking terrified because he's got, he's 17, 18 years old. And these guys with guns are just screaming at him. And Cheryl, and they place him under arrest, and they put him in the cop car, and they go to Cheryl's house, and they pick Cheryl up, but they didn't. This is kind of whenever everything really goes into motion. Cheryl is arrested at this point. The cops they tell Cheryl, they're like, look, we know there's something possibly behind why all of this happened. Cheryl has to go into why all of this happened, and she tells the cops why it all happened, because she was being brutally raped, molested, her father was doing horrible things to her, and the cops started to side with her. They said, this all seems plausible, because they said for this 40-something-year-old guy, there's no sexual paraphernalia in the house, no dirty magazines, no dirty movies. He never had a girlfriend after the mom died. He didn't go on dates. They're just all really odd things for a man that age to just be completely uninvolved with sex altogether. Mm-hmm. So it made sense that he was getting his sexual fill from his daughter. Exactly 1 year after her mother's death, she was arrested on February 13th, 1986, while awaiting, and I want to say this was about maybe a week after, a week after the death of her father. So it took a week after the shooting for them to actually arrest Cheryl. But while awaiting sentencing, Sean's friends, so she pled guilty. Cheryl did. She pled guilty to manslaughter. I believe she was sentenced to 6 months in jail. She only ended up serving 3.5 months, rightfully so. I don't think she just should have served any fucking time. But while she was awaiting sentencing, Sean's friend, the guy that actually killed her father, she said that his friends would follow her around town in an attempt to run her off the road while she was driving.
Oh my gosh.
She was having problems with people throwing rocks through her windows. They said that she had ruined Sean's life, which I feel like Sean kind of took his own fate into his own hands by doing what he did.
Yeah, definitely.
Her boyfriend, Rob, was given 5 years probation, and Sean Pica, I believe he was sentenced to 20 years in prison, but I think he only ended up serving 16 years in prison. He's out of prison now, but
okay.
He I don't want to say he slandered her name, but he kind of made it seem like, oh, she begged him to do it, and she said, "Oh, I'm a sexual, which she was a sexual abuse victim," and she kind of. Cheryl said, "I never fucking told this guy anything about being," and she that seems true to me. She didn't share it with anybody. Her boyfriend had to literally see it pretty much happening and call it out. So why would she tell this fucking dude that's just randomly in her homeroom, like, "Hey, my dad's raping me. I want you to."
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was thinking too. I was like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. It just seems like he's just trying to tip the scale in his favor a little more.
Yeah. And then she said that he's like, I did it because I begged. She begged me, and she felt like I was a champion. I was saving her life, yada yada. So she did serve her 3.5 months in jail, and Rob and her brother Jimmy visited her every day at jail, and they would come and see her. And the day she got out, Rob and Jimmy came and they picked her up in a fucking limousine like Joe Exotic. Well, Joe Exotic didn't get out of jail, but Cheryl did. So, but her brother and Rob, they completely stuck by her through all this. And after she got out, I think after she got out of jail, she had to go fucking live with her aunt and her grandma. And this is her dad's sister and her dad's mom, and they fucking hated Cheryl. They thought that she was the spawn of Satan. They thought that, she murdered him in cold blood, which they were not taking into fucking consideration all of the horrible things this guy had done to Cheryl. And they had brainwashed her little sister Joanne into thinking the same thing. So her little sister hated Cheryl's existence as well, and she had a really hard time developing her relationship with her little sister after all this. She was also pregnant with what she thought was her dad's child, so she forced herself to have a miscarriage. She said that she was shoving things up inside of her and pushing on her stomach and pushing to give herself a miscarriage. Actually, it turned out that I don't know how they were able to confirm this, and this is not a question I wanted to ask her. So they were able to confirm that it was Rob's child and it was not her father's child, but just the fucking possibility of her carrying her father's child. She forced herself to have a miscarriage, and it was just tough, man. But through it all, through the relentless media attacks after her getting out of jail, they remained together, Rob and Cheryl, and they eventually did get married, and they're still married to this day. We talked to both of them. They have 2 beautiful daughters. But then another turn of events, at the age of 44, Rob suffered a massive heart attack. So there was he was going to a doctor. He'd been having chest pains, and Rob is a nurse now, but he was going to a doctor about chest pains, about numbness. Rob knew there was something wrong with him. And this doctor's like, no, you got anxiety. You're thinking about shit too much. You're not really having any heart problems, yada, yada. And the doctor wasn't calling for the proper tests to make sure Rob was okay. One night, I want to say it was Cheryl's birthday, maybe, but he was really feeling it that day. The chest pains, he'd mowed the grass and about fucking passed out. Well, that night, to go to sleep, and Cheryl talked about this, she would oftentimes have to take Benadryl in order to get any semblance of sleep, just because of all the PTSD associated with everything she's dealt with in her life. Rob was having a really hard time with the chest pains and the numbness, and it got to the point where he woke up in the middle of the night and he said, "I'm fucking taking myself to the hospital. I'm having a heart attack." And it woke Cheryl up, and she said, "What are you doing?" She's all fucking groggy from this Benadryl. And he said, "I'm going to the hospital. I'm fucking having a heart attack." And she says, No, I'm going to take you, Rob. I will take you to the hospital. So she rushes him to the hospital. they get him in the ER, and they lose him. Rob dies. He has a massive heart attack, and he is dead. He is gone for 43 minutes. They're working on him for 43 minutes after his heart has stopped. So I don't know fucking how someone can be dead for that amount of time, aside from a goddamn miracle. And the doctor comes out and says, Cheryl, Mrs. Cuccio, we've done everything that we can do. And she said, give me fucking 10 more minutes. Work on him for 10 more minutes. He is my everything. I cannot lose him. And dude, this is the hardest part of this entire story. She said by this point, her daughters, who were, I believe, in their late teens at this point, they came to the hospital, and they're in there like screaming at their dad, like, "Daddy, don't leave us. Daddy, please. Daddy." And he's already dead at this point. He's dead. He's been dead for 40 plus minutes. And the doctor said, I'll work on him for 10 more minutes. But after that, it's kind of, already at this point, he's dead. He's gone. Like, there's nothing I can do. He said, I'll work on him for 10 more minutes. 8 minutes in, they're able to get a pulse again. They're able to get his heart back.
Wow.
But they said, we may have got his heart back, but he is going to have unreversible damage to his brain, from...
Yeah, that's a long time to be dead. Yeah, definitely.
You're gone, dude. You're gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was all because the negligence of this fucking doctor that he'd been going to and saying, hey, I am fucked up. And the doctor that performed the surgery that night on his heart, and he was in a medically induced coma for a long time. I can't even remember how long. I want to say a couple weeks. He was and I could be wrong, but they had him in a medically induced coma after that. They actually had to allow his body to heal properly, because it had done so much damage to his organs. They had to freeze him for a couple days. They had to freeze his body for a couple days, some kind of experimental treatment. Ooh. But they said there was 100% blockage in one artery and 99% blockage in another artery, and that it could have been easily diagnosed and dealt with if the proper tests would have been called in. But he had a really long road to recovery. But you know what, man? He made it out to the other side. All the months and years of rehab and Cheryl sticking by his side and making sure he was taken care of. It's just I could go on for another hour about Rob's rehab and about how he came back from being dead for 45 minutes. But all of that is covered in the book, and I highly recommend anyone listening to go check out the book and read the book. The book is called Incest, Murder, and a Miracle by Cheryl Cuccio and Rob Cuccio. But now we have our interview.
Oh, yeah.
With Cheryl Cuccio. I think that this is the best part of the episode. I know this is going to run us to about 2.5 hours, but
yeah, well over 2 hours.
Well worth it. So go check it out, guys. And I do really encourage you to check out the book. Rob Dog, we're finally done with this.
We're done,
and I really we're so appreciative of Cheryl and Rob coming on the show. Mostly,
yeah, it means a lot. Yeah, definitely.
So check out this interview, guys.
Yes.
This episode of the Brohio Podcast is sponsored by Blue Chew. Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. Blue Chew is made in the USA. It's prescribed online by licensed physicians, so you don't have to go to the doctor or wait in line. It's even cheaper than a pharmacy, and they prepare and ship it right to you in a discreet package. No awkwardness, and you don't need to leave the house. If you could benefit from more confidence in the bedroom where it counts all the time when it's hot and moist, Blue Chew is the fast and easy way to enhance your performance right now. The listeners of the Brohio Podcast Podcasts are going to get a very special offer. If you visit BlueChew.com, you're going to get your first shipment completely free when you use our promo code BROHIO. All you have to pay is $5 of shipping. Again, that's BlueChew.com, BLUECHEW.com, promo code BROHIO. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper choice, and we thank them for sponsoring the BROHIO podcast. And remember, when you support our sponsors, you make this podcast possible. So please be sure to use our promo code BROHIO at BlueChew.com. Is there something that's interfering with your happiness or something that's preventing you from achieving your goals? I recently had a loved one close to me that was going through a very nasty divorce, and mentally he couldn't get in a good place where he needed to be. And fortunately, the people at BetterHelp were able to get him back on the path to mental wellness. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with their own licensed professional therapists, ones that are perfect for you. They're going to connect you in a safe and private online environment. Then you're going to be able to communicate with your specialist in under 24 hours. You're going to be able to send them a message anytime you would like. You also get a timely and thoughtful response. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they can make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. They're there to help you with anger, grief, self-esteem issues, sleeping issues, trauma, relationship, anxiety. Anything you share with the folks at BetterHelp is going to be completely confidential. They have many, many testimonials available on their site, posted daily. BetterHelp is not a crisis line, but we have a very special offer. And I do want you all to start living a happier life today. And as a listener of the BROHIO podcast, you're going to get 10% off your first month by visiting BetterHelp.com/BROHIO. That's BetterHelp.com/BROHIO. Join over 800,000 people taking charge of their mental health right now. Again, that's BetterHelp.com/BROHIO. Okay, we're here with Cheryl Cuccio. Cheryl, thanks again so much. I already thanked you once before, but thank you so much for coming on the show. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
And Cheryl, her and I were talking back and forth. Mm-hmm. She's snowed in right now. I don't know how much snow. How much snow do you have right there? And you're in Long Island, right?
Yes, Long Island, New York.
Is it a whole bunch of snows, or is it just a little bit?
No, we got a whole bunch.
No, thank you.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch. I'm not really sure the exact amounts, but over a foot, I believe.
Any snow is too much snow, in my opinion. I hate it all. I hate it all equally.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to move to the warm weather for sure.
Well, I reached out to Cheryl a couple weeks ago, and she was so quick to respond to me, which normally never happens. We're trying to find someone for an interview. They normally kind of lollygag and don't really get back to us right away. But Cheryl was lickety-split, and she was really thorough about her questions, and she said, I don't want to do this until you invest the time in reading the book. And I hadn't at the point, I kind of kicked around reading the book. But Cheryl, thank you. I really do appreciate you for guiding me towards reading the book, because it gave me a whole new perspective on everything that you've gone through. So thank you so much for pointing me in the direction of the book.
I appreciate that, Nick, only because, everybody always says to me, I know your story, and they think they know the story from what they heard or what they read in the media, that old saying of fake news. But, this is, my story, my husband's story, our story.
Sure.
And to me, it's the true story. And I would like, before I do an interview, for people to know my story. And this is why I wrote the book, because after almost 30 years, nobody had ever known my story. I hadn't really done any interviews. So I wanted my story to be out there. I wanted the true story to be out there. And it really is a different story than what people thought. So I just liked, my side, my true side, to be out there. And people that read it really feel like it's a really different view of what they thought. So
there's definitely a powerful message conveyed through the book, and we'll get at the just first off, what's the name of the book?
That's what I was getting ready to ask.
The name of the book is Incest, Murder, and a Miracle, and Rob and I decided on that title because one of the most important reasons is we wanted the word incest in the title of the book so that people would have to actually say that word, because incest is such a taboo still to this day. And people actually cringe when they have to think about it or say it. So we wanted that specific word in the title.
Yeah. And I'm going to remind you again, Rob and I are a couple lighthearted guys. I know you've probably gone through a lot of super serious, and it's a very serious, it's a really serious topic, but if you have to use any type of colorful language, that you're free to let anything. I know from anyone that I've ever met from Long Island.
There's some colorful language in the book.
Yeah, you may not be doing anything bad, but you're still a motherfucker, you know. So you can let them rip if you need to, Cheryl. Okay.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And and the best thing about the book, and I don't know if you've had anyone else tell you this before, but I became like completely emotionally invested in your family and your husband. I feel like if I was going out to cause trouble on a Saturday night, I could call your husband and we would have things in common, and I would know at the end of the night when we came home at 2:30 and he was in trouble for being out too late, I could help talk his way out of it. And I think that,
he is such a down to earth guy. And, that's what we try to tell people. Like when people see our book, they think that I don't want them to think that it's just all doom and gloom. It's like when you're reading the book, it's us actually telling our story and people relating to us, and him having parts in the book as well. He actually relates. He's known me since I'm 15 years old. He's a big part of the story of my life, and he makes you laugh, and you could actually like envision it happening the way he speaks. And that's the one thing we wanted about our book, is we didn't want any special, intelligent, educational words. This is how we talk. This is how we wanted it to sound like. And it comes from the heart. It's a very easy read. And we wanted, as you're reading it, if you know us, or even after you read it, you feel like you know us. We're very, down to earth, normal, everyday, blue collar people. And we want you to feel like you're part of our family when you're reading it. You can come to us, and that's a big part of it. We want people to come to us. Yeah. And, and trust me, and especially abused victims, survivors. I want them to believe in me, and it's a very inspirational book. And we want people to, trust in me, to come to me. And, the whole thing about my life is that I feel like there was a reason that this had happened to me, and I wasn't able to tell anybody. And I want people to be able to come to me and tell me, and me to be able to inspire them and help them. So that was really, besides having the true story come out, this book is also meant to be able to help others. So.
Yeah. And you definitely accomplished that, in my opinion.
Thank you.
You both did such an incredible job. And I'm going to start. You've probably been asked a lot of these questions a million times. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions that you've never been asked before, but they're easy questions. Like this first one, Cheryl. I personally am a father of 3 daughters, and it is absolutely terrifying. One's 11, one is 8, and the other one is 4.
God bless you.
That was my question. Do you have any advice for me as far as raising girls to be to where I'm not going to want to
give them hope?
Yeah, lay my head down in traffic. Yeah.
Well, I, have raised my sister.
Yeah.
And my sister also has a daughter, and I have 2 daughters of my own who are now 26 and 29.
Yeah.
And having my daughters grown up, I want to think that I tried not to keep them in a bubble, but if you listen to them, I guess I kind of did.
Okay.
Although they had the best childhood, and they tell you that they did, it's just that we never allowed them out of basically our sights.
Sure.
They always had their friends and sleepovers at our house. We never just dropped them off anywhere. I was always class mom. I was always... they went to the movies, we knew where they were. We never denied them anything, but we just always weren't the parent that let, anybody watch them or let, my advice would be that, it's a fine line, like you have to trust them and let them know that you trust them. But I was not able to feel like I can tell anybody, especially my mom, secrets. And I just always, my main objective was that my kids could tell me anything and that they could trust me with anything. And I really feel like even to this day, I accomplished that. So that is, if you, as you're raising your kids, no matter what, just let them know that, I tell them every day, still to this day, I talk to them every day that I love them and that they can trust us with anything, no matter if it's good or bad, and just instill that in them. And if they believe that, they will come with you, come to you with anything. And, you just always have to have your eyes and ears open, and your child, and you know when something's not right. And if they tell you something, you just believe them. That's
right. Well, that's good stuff. I'm definitely going to use that because I'm
and also, they used to teach you that stranger danger in school. It's not so much stranger danger anymore. It's not about stranger. I'm not exactly sure of the percentage anymore, but I know that it's in the 90s of now. It's somebody that is usually the person that your caretaker is the one that mostly is now the one that violates. And
I've heard that as well.
I don't have the statistics in front of me, but the one that, whether it's your coach or your babysitter or your family member, they're the ones that will trust you and violate, because you trust them. They will violate you.
I'm sure that percentage is a lot higher than what all of us would like to even admit to.
Oh yeah, it's 1 out of every 4 girls, and 1 out of every 6 boys are molested by a caregiver, and that's reported. That's not even kids that don't tell. So
it's unreal.
It's pretty up there. It's like very very bad.
Yeah. Well, I have one more quirky question before we get into the nitty gritty.
I'm waiting to see what this question is. I just see the 2 words that are on here, and I'm just ready to see what this question is.
One of my favorite parts of the book, Cheryl, and it really helps paint a picture, is the pictures that you've included in the book. And there's your life, it seems like, is pretty well documented in pictures, and you've done a phenomenal job with that. But with that being said, a lot of these old pictures of you and Rob, he has got the biggest, most beautiful mustache, most New Yorker mustache that I think I've ever seen. Do the kids or you ever hassle him about these old pictures and this mustache?
Well, he doesn't have a mustache anymore.
Right. But these old pictures.
So it was funny because the day he shaved it, the kids are older. They were teenagers. And he walked up the stairs. I'll never forget it. And they were like, "What?" And they were like, "Who is that?" They were freaking out. But yeah, he was definitely the Italian stallion guy. He was very, very in school. He was like very, very, dressed, very, very sharp dresser. And he just reminded me of like Goodfellas and stuff.
Heck yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. He had the mustache. He had the cigarette cut. I hate smoking. I always did. I never picked up a cigarette in my life, but for some reason he smoked, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
You know what? Like I'm the same way. Like I've never smoked before, but people that do smoke, like if you have that look about it, it looks so fucking cool.
It does. And believe me, I hate it still to this day, but when he smoked, it was just like, and as you read in the book, when I first met him, I couldn't, I didn't like him. I thought he was annoying, and he was persistent, and then all of a sudden he wasn't, and he was like hanging out with some other girl, and I was like, "What? You don't like me anymore?" And then I just like, because I wasn't allowed to date or be around guys or anything, right. So I just kept, ignoring him because I knew there was not a chance, and I was, trying to stay out of trouble, and I had a lot going on, and so, but the minute he, wasn't paying attention anymore, I was like, oh, that ain't right.
That's how you women work.
Yeah, but yeah, no, he was a sharp dresser, and he had his own car, and he had the mustache and the cigarette, and he was cool. He was a cool guy.
I think you summed it up with the Italian stallion for sure.
Yeah, that's what he was.
I was hooked with the name Rob. I was like, if I know anything about Rob, it's that we're awesome people.
Okay. Well, as far as the release of the book and kind of this journey that you've been on over the past few years, what's been? I know it's hard to say that there's been any rewarding things apart that goes along with this journey, but that's my question. What's been the most rewarding part of this journey with the book and releasing it and meeting everyone that you've met?
I would say the most rewarding part of this book is that people didn't realize exactly what my story was. Even family members after I wrote it said, because they never really talked about it. They just thought they knew, and they were like, oh my God, I didn't realize, exactly, what you were going through at the time. And I would also say that although, people did get in touch with me while I was in jail. They sent me letters, and I would write every single one back, whether it was good or bad, and I still do. And like you said, how I got, right in touch with you.
Yeah.
I do that with every single person.
Wow.
Even if it's bad and it's negative and people are cruel, talk about being media bullies, and I get them all, and and I still correspond back and forth with them, and my Rob tells me, why do you do that? Just ignore it. And I don't, because my voice was taken away for a very long time, and I'm going to stick up for myself now. I didn't as a child, and I will stick up for myself now. I won't argue with them, but I will defend myself. And so the most rewarding thing to me is that I'm able to do that now, and I never thought I could. And also, like right now, I'm actually talking to a 10-year-old child that has been molested, and I feel like I have the strength to talk to her and make her feel better, and make her feel better about herself. And without having this book, I wouldn't have that avenue to be able to, talk to another child about it. Or,
right.
Her mother said that she followed me on a few shows and, Facebook, and she realizes that she can have a somewhat normal life. And without me having my book, I was never on any kind of social media before. So that really makes me feel like this all happened for a good reason. And with all the bad, I have some good as well. So
that's powerful.
And that it's, I try to tell the young girl that it's not her shame to carry, and that abuse of any kind does not have to define the rest of her life ever. And that she's a beautiful, brave girl, and no matter what happens to her now, she that she whatever got her through the abuse, the strength that she has, that strength will carry her for the rest of her life.
I absolutely love that you take such a dark experience that happened in your life, and you're finding the light and helping out other people that are going through the same situation. It's so telling, and it's just so promising that that people that have gone through something like this can help out.
Yeah, come out okay.
Yeah. Well, make no mistake, I have some bad days.
Sure.
You could ask my husband. There's days he still picks me up off the floor. Just because my father's dead and he stopped doing it 30 years ago doesn't mean it ever stops.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, I try to be brave to everybody else, and I try to give them positive, inspirational thoughts, but I also let them know that there will still be bad days, and it never goes away. And people look at my Facebook and they see my post of happy family times and stuff, and I do try to post positive things, but they have no idea that I still only sleep 2 hours a night because I'm still afraid, and
Jeez.
I take Benadryl every night to try to get those 2 hours, and I clean houses to still scrub the dirtiness that I still feel to this day. There's still so many issues, but I wake up every day and try to be positive and try to do the right thing and try to be a good human and try to still to this day prove to my mother that I'm worthy human being, and I'm just try to be the best person I could be.
Well, I don't know how often you are told this, but you are doing the right thing, Cheryl. You definitely are doing the right thing, and we applaud you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do.
And how is your past experiences, what you went through? I don't want to say my wife went through it was not too far off from your situation, and I can tell that it's kind of shaped the way she parents our children. How has your experiences shaped the way that you parent your children? Because my wife, she'll let our kids do. She did not have a good childhood at all, and she'll literally let our kids do whatever they want. And it gotta wrangle them in.
Right. Well, reading my book, my father especially was, not only was he abusive, but he was very strict. And like we sat down at the dinner table and we had to eat like our vegetables, potatoes, and meat all counterclockwise. We weren't allowed to look up from our plate. We weren't allowed to drink, talk, nothing. And so right from the start, if my kids didn't want to eat, if they wanted to eat ice cream, if they wanted to not eat, whatever, I let them do whatever they wanted to do. And you know what? They grew up fine.
Yeah.
They're healthy. They're not overweight. They're athletic. My 26-year-old is a doctor. My 29-year-old is went to school to be a forensic psychologist. They're amazing, beautiful, and I'm not just saying that because they're my children, but they are amazing, beautiful adult women who are very, very good human people. I raised them with telling them every day that I love them because we never said that in our house. So I kind of raised them opposite of how I was raised. And, I just always made sure that I was there for them. And Rob and I sacrificed a lot for them. People always said to me, oh, you're very blessed to have your daughters. I am very blessed, but nobody knocked on the door and handed them to us and said, here you go. We put a lot of work, time, and love into our girls, and we sacrificed a lot, and we're good parents. And
absolutely,
people said, what took you so long to write your book? Well, I couldn't write my book until I raised my kids and knew that I was a good mom and a good wife. How was I going to write a book if I didn't even know what kind of person I was?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
that was a large part of waiting to write the book as well. So they were grown up. They knew our story. I never told them our story while they were kids. They didn't need to know.
Yeah.
We finally had to tell them our story when my lawyer called me up, who's still a good friend of ours, and told us that the person that killed my father was coming out of jail and, to be careful, and it was going to be on the news. And then I had to tell my girls then.
How old were they when that happened?
I believe they were 9 and 12, I think they were.
Oh wow.
And they could care less.
Yeah.
They really were like, okay, Mom, and then when they really started asking questions was when we wrote the book, when they were, 17 and 20 is really when they, like, why didn't you, use your cell phone? Why didn't you video it? And I'm like, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 30. I didn't have a cell phone at 15 or 12 or, that's how, they didn't realize. So,
yeah.
But they're very supportive. And it's just sad because my older one, who's 29, looks just like me, and she gets a lot of flack from people that think that right. She's me, and I just but she's strong. She's a good kid.
Yeah. Did you ever share with anyone when you were growing up? I know there wasn't a lot of talk in the book about friends that you had, any specific friends, and I can imagine it was probably kind of hard to hold to be a good friend with everything that you were shouldering in your life at the time. But did you ever share with anyone besides Rob what was kind of going on in your life?
Well, I wasn't allowed to have any friends. The few friends that I had were I had like two or maybe three girlfriends the whole teenage, wow. Between the teenage years. And those friends were when my mom was actually home feeling well enough to be not in the hospital, because from the time I was 10 to 15 when she died, she was sporadically home from the hospital, and then she would allow me to have a friend over, but basically I wasn't allowed out of the house at a friend's house, and when I was allowed to have a friend home, it was only when she was not in the hospital. So it was very hard for me to keep friends, and so I never told any friends. There was a few friends that knew of physical abuse because I always had bruises and stuff in school, black eyes, fat lips, and they knew of that, but I never told them of who did it or anything like that. They just went themselves to the guidance office and stuff, and the guidance office would say, well, if she had a problem, she'd have to come report it herself.
No, that wouldn't fly anymore.
No. And Rob himself, he started coming around, and my father gave him, well, he didn't give him a hard time at first. He actually kind of liked him at first.
Yeah.
And then started giving him a little bit of hard time. And the more Rob came around, the more Rob saw how my father was my father was very jealous and was trying to just prove to Rob that I was his girl. And the more Rob saw it, the more Rob actually confronted me, because he's like, I have a sister, and my father and sister don't act like that. And we had gotten to a little bit of an argument, Rob and I, and he confronted me and told me what he thought my father was doing. And after about an hour of him telling me, I finally broke down and admitted it. So
he just got that vibe and he just picked that up?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and it took a lot for me to tell him, but it was after a year of me knowing him, and he was so freaking persistent that I just wanted him to stop talking about it, that I finally just said, you're right. Now, please don't tell, because if you tell anybody, he will hurt me and my sister. So please. And he promised he wouldn't tell anybody.
Now, going back to the day that your father died, whenever I kind of explain before this, we're going to lay out your story, so it's not like I'm depending on you to tell your entire story right now. But did you have any suspicion at all that day of what had actually happened to your father before? I guess I know there was kind of a large gap before there was the conversation with your classmate, and then it happened. So when it happened, were you like, oh my God, I know what happened to him? Or were you kind of...
Well, what happened was, so it was, I would say before Christmas, I had said it in my homeroom, and my classmate said that he would do it, because I said, who would do it for money? And he said he would. And we never really talked about it after that again, and never brought it up again. And we weren't friends, never were friends. He was just somebody that sat directly in front of me, because it was alphabetical order, and he was PIC and I was PIE.
Yeah.
And and Rob would tell me, I had told Rob about him, and Rob wanted to meet him. And Rob did meet him, and he saw that he was, a little short, small kid. And Rob's like, there's no way he's going to do it, so just get that out of your mind. We're going to have to figure something out, but he's not going to do it. And I believed everything that Rob told me, and the kid never brought it up again. And I saw him every day in homeroom, and he never brought it up again. So the day before it happened, I was cheerleading, and he ran past me and said, I'm going to do it.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm like, yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. Like, I just kind of like, all right, as I was cheerleading, because I was in the middle of the gym cheerleading, and he ran past me. And so the next day when it happened, now you have to understand, there was a lot of people that did not like my father. that feared him. He did a lot of bad things to a lot of people, and it could have been anybody. But what happened that day was, when I found my father, I didn't hear any shooting or anything. I didn't hear any gunshots.
Yeah.
And when I heard my little dog barking to go outside, I went to let my dog out to go to the bathroom, and it was like a blizzard the day before. And when I saw my father laying out on the concrete, I ran out and I saw blood. I didn't know where the blood was coming from. I ran to my next door neighbors, and my neighbor told me that he had fallen on the ice.
Okay.
And, to get in the house, he was calling the ambulance. My neighbor came in and told me to wake up my sister and told me that my father was fine and that he was just going to go in the ambulance. So I didn't know anything about guns. He was dead. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden the police came in and they said to me that they were sorry, they were sorry about my father. And do I know, right in front of my sister, who was only 8, do I know who would have wanted, to shoot him?
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, what? I didn't even know he was dead. I'm like, what? I'm like, he's dead?
Oh,
and then they looking at me like, like there was something wrong with me. And then that's when they were saying they thought like it was suspicious. But I'm like, I had no idea that he was dead or that he was shot.
So you didn't have time to process anything, really.
Yeah. And I was like, in the meantime, in the back of my head, I'm like, he fell on the ice and he's alive. I'm like, and honestly, I was like, I wish that he wasn't. I was like, oh, finally he fell and cracked his head. That would have been great for me, right? So,
yeah.
So then the cops and then my sister starts hysterical screaming and crying. So then they took me into another room and they're like, you didn't know your father was dead? And I'm like, no, I was told he fell and slipped on the ice. And they're like, no, he was shot. So then I'm in front of this police officer and all this stuff is going through my head. And I'm like, okay, now did the kid do it? Did somebody else do it? I didn't know what I was supposed to say.
Yeah.
I was kind of still in shock that he was actually dead. So obviously I didn't say anything. I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't know if it was him, because I wanted to talk to the kid first to even know if it was him.
Well, that was my next question, is like, what was your stance during, I would imagine you were probably brought in for like an interrogation type interview.
No, they never did.
Really?
They never took me in. They actually took my brother in because everybody that they talked to said, oh, look at his son. Him and his son didn't get along. Okay. So they took my brother in and they questioned all these other people because my father didn't get along with many people, and everybody that talked to him said that, that it was me that was, that he loved the most, and nobody ever suspected me. So they never even spoke to me.
Huh.
So the first your first run-in with the police was whenever they were at your house to take you to take you in,
to pick me up when they arrested me. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And they picked up my brother first because they still thought he had something to do with it. Then they picked up Rob, and when they picked up Rob actually told them about the abuse, because I swear on my girls would have never told them. I would have went to jail for 25 years before I told my secret.
Yeah.
I really would have. As long as my sister was safe and he was dead, I would have went to jail forever. And I would never tell anybody, no less knowing that the whole world would know, and I would be on the front page paper of that.
Yeah.
So he told them. So now I was upset with him for telling. I'm like, are you, So then they brought him to my house, which my aunt, my father's sister, and his mother were staying with me to tell them. They're like, you have something to tell your grandmother? I'm like, no.
Right.
I'm like, are you kidding me? So then they told her that I had my father killed, and then they took me out of the house, and then me and Rob drove in the cop car on the way to the precinct. And then they started asking me all these questions about being, sexually abused by my father, and I had to sit there and tell these strange men all these horrible things. I'm like, oh, that was the worst.
But in one interview, you said the police were really good to you, and they kind of, after you explain your story, that they kind of They sympathize with you, or they
were, because once they started talking to me, I think the things that I was saying, they knew I was telling the truth, and they couldn't understand when they were doing all this, when they were looking, for some clues and stuff in the house. They couldn't understand, like, everything started making sense to them once they knew, like, that the sexual abuse was happening. They couldn't understand, like, why there was this very sophisticated alarm in my house, like the sensors, because my father would be able to tell who was walking in my house so that he wouldn't be caught doing what he was doing with me, with whoever was in the house, which way they were walking, and then, like, so that they understood, and then that why a 40-something-year-old man, all those, after my mother died, why he never dated, why he didn't have any porn in his house, why he didn't, they couldn't understand, like, all this certain stuff that they found clues. Now all this stuff started to make sense. So everything, like I was saying to them, they, like, put in with all the other stuff that they thought, and then it all made sense. So then they were pretty good.
Okay. Well, I guess that's, I don't know how I feel about that. It's just like,
I couldn't imagine just being in the situation where you never spoke to, like, almost anyone about that situation, and then all of a sudden you're put in a situation where you have to talk to complete strangers about it.
Right,
like,
and then all of a sudden you're getting strip searched by strangers. Like, it's like, hello, this is what I'm here for, and now I have to be, strip searched by strangers, and and tell my story over and over again. And meanwhile, I never told anybody, and now everybody knows. Now it's on every paper, every news channel. This was a secret that I kept for 6 years.
Man.
And nobody knew anything, and now everybody knows.
It's like,
and it was
traumatizing
horrendous.
at every point.
Yeah, everything that I tried to keep so quiet, and now it was my worst nightmare. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
And now then I got released from jail, and they stuck me back with my aunt and my grandmother. They stuck me back with them.
Oh, man.
That's one of my questions, actually, I have lined up. But
yeah, that was great.
I'll get to that one here in just a second. But what was, before you were sentenced, so you pled guilty, and then before your sentencing, when you were kind of weighing everything in your mind, what was the worst case scenario for sentencing that you were kind of, I know your attorney was probably telling you, hey, you're looking at maybe 5 years, or you're looking at this amount of time. What was the worst case scenario in your mind at that point?
I would have gotten 15 years to life.
God.
Was my worst.
God.
And you know what? I was okay with that. Yeah. I was okay with that.
I'm not okay with that, Cheryl.
I just wanted. He was dead, and I understood that, and he wasn't going to hurt me or my sister anymore, and I the first night in jail with the bars shut was the best night's sleep I've had in probably 8 years.
I can't. That's powerful. I mean, I know that you were probably the weight. You probably felt like there was just a.
I mean, yeah, I didn't have to hide nothing anymore. Everybody knew, whether they believed it or not. I didn't have to hide it. God knew the truth. I knew the truth, and it was what it was. My biggest fear after that was that my sister was stuck with my grandmother and my aunt, and I feel like that whole family was tormented. My father had to be tormented from his family for some reason. And when we went through the trial, there was 20 adults that said that they knew something was going on. And there was also stuff in that trial that said there was a large portion of the reason why my father was the way he was how he grew up. And now when you have my sister in with that family who tormented my father, and now I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I needed to break the cycle.
Did you?
And now
I'm sorry. Did you, after, I know you said there was 20 adults that said, hey, we kind of had a suspicion, but did you ever like kind of lash out at any of those people after the fact and say, hey, if you thought something like that was happening to me, why didn't you try and protect me, or why didn't you try and...
No, because I know how intimidating he was.
Yeah.
I was fearful of him as a child, and he was scary. He was a scary man. If he didn't like something you said, he'd go and blow your car up.
Jesus.
He wasn't like, like nobody knew like how scary he was behind closed doors. I mean, he was scary. You owed him money and you didn't pay. He would go make sure that something that you liked, he would take away from you to show you, like, you didn't give me my money, now I'm going to, take away something that, you liked. Or,
Jeez.
I mean, just, my dog peed on the floor. He kicked my dog so hard my dog died from peeing on the floor for not being home for 12 hours. Like, there was just no, like, he was not a well man.
Right.
And the thing that bothers me most is that people that idolized him after he was dead was the people that he was mean to. Like,
Jesus.
How do you say because he's dead he was great? And and he told me nobody would believe you. And there was people, he was right. Those people didn't believe me. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
No.
Are you kidding me?
I think you've come to the realization that you don't need the validation of those people to define your struggle.
No. And that's what I said at the end of my book. It was their loss.
Yeah.
It was the loss whoever didn't want to be in my life, because my family and my life is great, and it was your loss.
Yeah. I can feel that. I can completely agree with you in that aspect. Were you and Rob allowed to maintain, I guess, a relationship during the process of the trial? I guess the processes of the trial. Were you guys allowed to remain in contact?
They did not want us to. My lawyer did not want us to be together because he felt like if the public saw us, it would be like we killed my father to be together.
Yeah.
And if that was the truth, then me and him would have just ran away, or, I mean, I could not leave my sister. That's why everyone's like, why didn't you run away? Why didn't you tell somebody? Why didn't you just, I mean, I would have killed myself if that was, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't leave my sister, and I couldn't run away with Rob. I wouldn't leave my sister. We couldn't take her with us. And he would have found us anyways. And I couldn't tell because even to this day, 30-something years later, they never take, even this 10-year-old kid I'm talking about, they never take the kids
someplace better.
They always have to prove it first. They take the adult's word over the child's word. Yeah. Always. Still, I don't understand it. Why would the kid make that up? What good is it of saying that shame and that disgust? Like, who would want to say that? Why would I want to say that?
Right.
Anything my father gave me, I had more given to me with him being alive than him dead. I gave away all my rights to his inheritance. Yeah. Everything. It was over $1 million. My brother and sister got over $580,000 apiece. I got nothing. Yeah. I got nothing but hundreds of thousands of dollars of psychiatric bills and lawyers' bills. That's what I got.
Well,
I was the only one named in the will. I had to give that up, which was fine. I didn't want any of that. I didn't want his dirty money.
Yeah.
But people thought I killed him for his money. Why would I do that? I had everything I wanted out of his guilt. That was one thing about him. He did feel guilty after he did it, but not enough to stop.
Yeah.
I love my kids so much. I can't imagine ever hurting them, knowing that something hurt them, and to keep doing it. How could you do that to most? I would die for my kids. How could you hurt them that much? Yeah, I can never understand that.
That's a different kind of evil that I just can't understand.
And that's what I learned as an adult. It is a sickness. It's not. It's a pure sickness that you cannot stop. I guess it's like an alcoholic or a drug addict. You just can't stop. And he was never going to stop. And that's what he said. If I ever left, he was going to start on my sister. And that could not happen. That just could not happen.
Yeah.
Do you still, and I think you define this pretty well in the book, but you have a pretty good relationship with your sister to this day, right?
I do. She lives about 4 minutes from me.
Okay.
She's getting married. I'm her maid of honor.
Oh, wow.
Her kids are like my kids. She has 3 beautiful kids. We still have issues, it's, we're sisters, she thinks I'm her mother. I think she's my kid. I raised her, she thinks she knows it all. She's like any typical, but, she came to live she ran away from my aunt's house because she was still there. And that's why people say, why didn't you ever leave Long Island? I didn't leave because I knew my sister would come looking for me. And all the crap that I lived through with people pointing and staring and throwing rocks through my windows, and I couldn't leave because I knew she would come and look for me. And at 15 years old, she came knocking on the door, and we're 8 years apart. What was that? I was 23. I had a 2-year-old daughter, and she came looking for us, and without a doubt, we took her in.
Yeah.
And she lived with us until she turned 18 and got all her money. She pissed through all her money in a year and a half and came back to live with us. Had a baby.
$500,000 in 1 year. That's pretty good job.
Yeah, she lived a good life.
That's impressive.
For a year and a half.
That's pretty awesome. If all I would have left would be like a stinky couch by the end of that.
Yeah, no, she did good. She did good.
That's good. I'm trying to get back on. What are some of the most common inaccuracies about your life? Because I was reading when I was going through the research initially, and then I read through the book, I was like, some of the stuff I read on the internet, I was like, that shit couldn't be any further from the truth than.
Oh my God, there's so many. So many.
What's the most common and most outlandish inaccuracies as far as your story in your life?
The biggest one that really burns my ass.
Yeah.
Is that people think that I told Sean about the abuse and that he did it to help me and my sister.
Right.
That is the biggest one.
And you know what? I promise you we wouldn't touch on that very much, but I think that when I'm watching, I've been in Rob and I both have worked in law enforcement, and I consider myself to be a really good judge of character, and when I watch you speak online, I can almost feel your pain. Not that I've ever went through anything like that, but I'm just like, I can absorb, the emotion that you're putting out. And when I was watching other interviews, I'm like, I don't know if this is exactly, I don't feel like this person is conveying the truth at all, but I could certainly feel like that everything you just been so authentic about everything, and that's kind of
my story has never changed from day one. My answers have always been the same. It's not hard to tell what you feel when you're telling the truth. And his interviews from time to time, if you keep watching them, everything's different.
I know. That's what we don't need to go any further than that, but I definitely agree with what you're saying.
It's frustrating to me because I'm out there putting myself out there so people trust me and want me to help them and believe in me so that they believe in themselves. And that's the only reason why I'm doing this. I didn't write this book to make $1 million. As a matter of fact, I haven't made any dollars from it. We paid for everything ourselves.
Right.
And it's not published. We did it ourselves. And, it's taken a toll on us, and we put it out there, and people think because you write a book, you made all this money, and and it's not true. And we do all these shows for free. Yeah. We don't make any. They don't pay you to do shows.
Right.
And so I put myself and my family out there. My family gets a lot of crap too. My kids and my husband at work, and it's to put yourself out there and I do it because I want to help people. And Rob wants to help people, He wants to, he's always helped people. That's how he never gave up on me. He kept coming and getting abused by my father. And then he kept coming back for more and more, and he never has left my side. And that's all we want to do is, he helped me, and then he had his heart attack, and I helped him. And then now together we feel like we need to help other people. And
beautiful.
And that's all we're trying to do. And then, the biggest misconception out there is that, we're out there just, trying to make money off the story. Everything's about money. Nothing's about money. There's nothing about money. This whole story is nothing about money. Why would it take me 30 years to tell my story? It's nothing about money. I've always just wanted to get my true story out there and to be able to help people, and that's all. It doesn't take a genius for that. And there's just, the first book that was out there, it didn't even include. It had nothing to do with that book. How do you write a lifetime story and make a movie out of somebody's life that you don't even talk to?
Yeah, that's
how is that even possible?
The biggest crock of shit for me is there was people out there trying to tell your story that had never even talked to you or kind of.
So we did a few book signings at a quick story, and for some reason Rob and I would sit behind the table, and people would come up and they wouldn't think that I was Cheryl Pierson, and they thought I was just selling this book, and they'd be like, "Oh, I know her story." I'm like, "Oh, you do?" They're playing stupid. I'm like, "You do?" "Oh, yeah, I know that story. I knew her." I'm like, "Yeah, who are you?" And they're like, "I'm so and so." I'm like, "Oh, how do you know her?" "Oh, and they go, and meanwhile, I'm her, and I'm like, and they make up this whole big thing, and I'm like, "Yeah, well, I'm Cheryl Pierson-Cuccio," and I'm like, oh, and then like they just changed the whole story, but it's like everybody's such full of crap, and it's like I don't understand what the purpose of you saying all this is. It just makes no sense to me. But I don't know. I don't know what the point I'm making is. Is just that
I get it.
They just feel like they just gotta add stuff that's not true to it. And I don't understand. They just lie about stuff that there's no reason to lie. Like all that stuff in that other book, it's and I'll get people that'll email me or message me, and they're like, "Oh, I read your story," and I'm like, "That's not my story. Please read my story. This is my story."
Right.
It's totally different. They're two different stories.
And I can speak from experience that's well worth the investment to read the book. And I proudly and happily point everyone in the direction to read the book. But I only have a few more questions here, and then I'll let you get back to. You got the Italian stallion there with you. I don't want you to keep him waiting too much longer. Now, and also in the book. Rob talked about how you guys would make almost like a date night to watch Grey's Anatomy, and I think that my 11-year-old daughter and my wife are watching all of Grey's Anatomy right now, and every freaking time I walk in the living room, they're crying their eyes out. I haven't watched it, but I know that every time I walk in the living room, these women are just crying their eyes out over this thing.
Yep. Yep. Well, we started watching This Is Us, and we started doing the same thing for that one. So,
okay. That's a crier.
Rob is very sentimental. He's, he really is.
Don't let him hear you say that.
He is. He's a good guy.
That's good.
He is.
I know he is.
He's a good guy. He's got 2 daughters, so he tries to be. He's a rough, tough cream puff. So, he really is.
Man, you're going to have a lot of explaining after this interview, Cheryl. After, and like you talked about earlier, after you were released from, I guess, were you in a jail, or were you in a prison, or was it like a juvenile facility? Or
I was in a county jail, because anything under a year, you go there. But they, at the time, 30 years ago, they did not have a juvenile cell block, I guess it's called, or whatever. So
sure.
They had me and 4 other under 18-year-olds in the medical part, and the medical ward, or not medical, what is it called?
Infirmary?
It's not medical, because you would think that they were hurt, but psychic ward.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
So we watched someone hang themselves, someone set themselves on fire.
Oh.
It was all people that had psychiatric issues. So that was. They had no place else to put us kids, so that's where they thought the best place to put us.
That wasn't traumatic for a teenage girl at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not good. But then at the time too, they also allowed the newspapers and the photographers to come in and take pictures of you inside your cell.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if they're allowed to do that now, but they were allowed to come right in and take photos of you, which kind of pissed other cellmates right off because they would be in the pictures as well. So, yeah, I almost got my ass kicked for that as well because, they thought I was asking for that, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
But,
absolutely not.
Yeah, I feel like there's no way they can do that now.
Yeah, they got away with a lot of stuff back then. I mean, like I said, who could write a book about you and not have anything to do with it? And then,
yeah, you're right.
Like, they just come in and take your picture right in your face while you weren't looking. And yeah, back then they could do, and talk about fake news. Back then they could write whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, this other book that was written about me, all the stuff that she could, I still haven't read that book in full because every time I try to read it, I feel like my stomach, I'm going to throw up.
Yeah, you don't need to read it. If you want me to come to your front yard and burn like 40 or 50 copies of it, I'm completely available.
I would really like to talk to her one day and be like, how, because there's so many people after I wrote my book that said to me that them reading that book made them not come forward even more so because it depicted abused people in a sense that they were even more ashamed that what she did to me made them feel like they could never come forward.
That's so sad.
And so she caused more harm writing that book to profit because she didn't know anything about abused victims. She just wrote. I don't even think she researched it as a New York Times journalist.
Stupid bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm allowed to say that. This is my show, Cheryl.
Believe me, when I was writing out that book, when I was writing the book on the chapter on her, you don't know how many times I crossed out. No, I can't write that. And then I was like, no, I can't write that.
That's great. That's all right. And you touched on briefly, kind of, and this is, there was such a volatile situation after you were released from jail. They could not have sent you to a worse situation after your release. You were sent to live with your grandmother and your aunt, who both were completely on the side of your father.
Yeah.
So it was much like you were, if you weren't really living with your father, but you were still living with your father, essentially.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was better off in jail at that point.
God.
Than staying with them for sure.
What kind of treatment? I guess take us through what that was like staying with them.
I was just reminded every day that I, had killed their son and their brother, and that I will pay for it. And they lived next to a church about 3 houses over. And I used to just walk to the church, spent a lot of time at the church, and that's when I had met Deacon Bob, who I write about in the book. And I had asked him, does everybody go to heaven? And I was asking him, not for myself, but to see if my father died and went to heaven. And he thought I was asking about myself. So he said, yes, everybody does go to heaven if they're forgiven. So he thought that I was, asking for myself. So when he said yes, he actually saved my life, because by him saying yes, I thought that my father was there. And at the time I was contemplating, because they were making my life so miserable. And I knew that my sister was safe. And I figured, well, they're making me miserable, and I'm probably going to jail for 15 years. And nobody at that point was allowing me to see Rob. And at that point, I thought I was carrying my father's baby, and so I just wanted to die. And the whole world knew what my father had done. And so I went to the church, and I had asked him if everybody goes to heaven, and he said basically yes, thinking that I was asking for myself to make me feel better, that I would go to heaven when I died because I did a horrible thing by hiring somebody to kill my father. So when he told me yes, I figured, well, my father's there, and it took me all this time to get away from him. I sure as hell ain't killing myself to get there now.
Yeah.
So I didn't kill myself, and like I always tell Deacon Bob, he saved me, because if he would have said not everybody goes to heaven, then I probably would have killed myself, thinking, okay, he's not there. I I could go there hopefully and be with my mom finally, because I missed her so much.
Yeah.
And so by him telling me that, he actually saved me. So I used to just go to the church until finally one day I couldn't take it anymore, and I called up Alberta Casa when they weren't home. I used the phone, and I said, "Can I come to your house? I can't live here anymore." And she said, "Absolutely." And that was my neighbor that I lived next to. That was my mother's best friend.
Right.
And my sister's godmother. And she came by and she picked me up. And I said, "Can we take Joanne?" She said, "We sure can." And Joanne said, "No, I don't want to come with you."
Wow.
And then, then they brainwashed my sister.
I can imagine.
Until she ran away at 15 and came to live with us.
What an unfortunate situation.
Man.
How did you have to go back to school after you were released from jail?
No, the school would not allow me to step foot on that property. They told me while I was out on bail, if I stepped on the premises, they would arrest me for trespassing.
Oh, it was probably better off that you didn't go back to the.
Well, they sent me a letter saying I could pick up my high school ring, which I don't know. I wanted it. I wanted it.
Yeah.
But then when they sent me that letter that I couldn't go to pick it up, they'd mail it to me. I was pissed off. I'm like, "You're going to arrest me for going to pick up my ring while I'm out on bail, knowing I'd go to jail again. Meanwhile, you freaks were the ones that weren't supportive, because I didn't know all my friends had told you that I was getting physically abused, and you said I couldn't, they couldn't do anything.
Because you weren't the one telling them.
Now you want to send me to jail if I go on your property." So I sent my school ring back to them. I said, "I don't want it."
I'd have mailed it back with a.
And they mailed it back again, saying, "You paid for it, you have to keep it." So I don't even know where it is at this point, but yeah.
Wow.
Unreal. And in the book, you kind of spoke about. I got about 3 or 4 more questions here. In the book, you talked about the experience you had with the psychic medium and kind of communicating with the other side. Do you feel like that was an authentic experience, or have you had any type of experiences like that since that occurrence from the book?
I haven't been to a psychic since that one.
Yeah.
Like I said, that was after Rob was sick. I went to that one because I really want to know. I really wanted to know which person saved him, because I felt like it was a miracle.
Yeah.
And I wanted to really know. I really wanted to know if it was my mom, or I felt like maybe it was my father, because I felt like he owed me. Okay. And so I wanted to know if it was him. And so when the psychic, in my house, my father was always king of the castle and would never allow my mom to talk. And so this psychic experience, my mom was the one talking, and she said that the psychic said that my father was coming and my mom was being more of the aggressive one and pushing my father away, which was actually nice. Yeah. I was like, "Oh, okay, she's the man now. She's, she's the boss. Okay, that's good." And then so that made me have a little chuckle. And then like I said in the book, he finally, she allowed him to talk, and he was patting his chest where his heart is on his left side. He was patting, and she was saying, "Oh, your father died of a very sudden death, unexpected death."
Which he did.
And then I said yes, and then from there, she was saying a heart attack, and I'm like, "No," and she kept on insisting it was something with his heart, and no, wasn't his heart. And I don't know, you'll have to read the rest of the book for that and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good cliffhanger. And I know there wasn't any talk about this, and this is just in closing here. I guess when Rob suffered from the heart attack, does he speak of I know that almost 45 minutes where he was dead. Does he speak of any type of experiences that he had while he was essentially, he was void of life? Is there anything that he specifically speaks of, maybe like a light or an afterlife, or any being able to see himself or any voices or anything like that he speaks?
He does. He has a few things that he has that originally when we were writing the book, he did have them in, and he decided to take them out because there's just so many different things in this book. I mean, this book could have went on and on and on. I mean, it is 30 years of our life, so it's just like, what do you put in and what do you don't? And being self-published, they actually told us with this book that we had to take so many more things out if we wanted to be published, because they don't know if it's a crime, if it's a love story, if it's inspirational, if it's faith. There's so many different things that they, so he actually took some of that out, and he was maybe considering doing his own book. So there's a few things that he that he happened, and as time goes by, I mean, this poor guy has some of his own PSD.
Yeah.
PSD. What is it?
PTSD.
Yeah, that's it.
We got.
He has trouble sleeping and stuff because he did go to sleep and he woke up a month later. So as time goes by, he does remember a few things, and so he's thinking about maybe doing a small little something himself.
Oh,
but unfortunately, there are a few things that he does remember.
Okay. And do you guys still? I'm invested in the dogs. I was unfortunately, I'm a huge dog guy. Is Brody still around?
Brody is still around. He is going to be 7.
Oh wow!
And he is amazing. He was a big snow dog today, playing in the snow, and he is amazing.
And you guys can read in the book. Dogs are a huge part of our lives, but this specific, I guess. This dog meant a lot more to the Cuccio family than I guess just any run of the mill regular dog. It was almost like a life saving thing for Rob. So you guys can read about
and Rocky as well. As well before Brody. I mean, that's why we got Brody, but Rocky definitely saved Rob with his rehabilitation as well. So that was the heartbreak of that one.
Yeah, and Brody probably gets whatever he wants. Am I right?
Oh my God, we were just talking about that. Our first dog was Cody when we moved in the house. Cody was not allowed on any of the furniture, not allowed any begging food. I mean, then Rocky a little bit more, but Brody on the couch, sleeps in between us on the bed.
Oh no,
has whatever he wants. He's like, and we're like. We have no kids home, so he's like our child. Get it?
There's nothing better than waking up with a mouthful of dog hair in the middle of the night. It's my
dog hair, exactly. Yep. And there's no wearing black in our house. Nope.
Yeah, I'm the same way here. It's all right. And my last question, Cheryl, what would you say to someone that's kind of that went through what you went through, and they're listening to the show right now? We have a large reach. We have young people, people from all walks of life. What advice would you give them if they're kind of going through the same thing, that the horrors and terror that you went through?
What I would say to someone is that's actually going through it now, or
someone that's, I guess, kind of afraid to just, if they're going through it, or they went through it and they're just afraid to reach out for help and kind of
right. Well, I would say to them that someone will believe you. You need to tell somebody, because it is not your shame to carry. It's not your fault. You didn't ask for it. You don't deserve it. Do not let anybody take any more of your happiness away that they have already taken from you. There is help out there. Go to somebody that that you can trust. There is help out there. You just, because you think you're the only one, but you're not. It happens to more people than you think. And do not let this define the rest of your life. It doesn't have to. There's so many more people out there, and there's such a, I tell people, it's part of a club that nobody asks us to join, but we have such a bond with each other because nobody knows the experience unless you've been through it, and nobody could help you with it unless you've been through it. So
well, Cheryl, thank you so much for, I know you, this story it's like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and I appreciate you sharing it with us and sharing it with our listeners. If people, again, give us the name of the book and where they can find the book, and how, if people want to reach out to you, and kind of what avenues can they go for all those?
Okay, so the name of our book is Incest, Murder, and a Miracle. You can get us on Amazon, eBooks, Kindle. What? Basically anywhere.
Yeah.
My email is CherylCuccio author @gmail.com.
Okay.
My Facebook is Cheryl Cuccio. There's
Brody. You know what I was talking about him.
My protector.
Yeah.
You can find me on Facebook. Just private message me. I answer every single body.
She does.
And, email me. I'll be happy to, you want to read the book and talk to me about the book, or you have any questions. Like I said, it might take me, a day or two to answer you, but I definitely will get back to every single body. So
Cheryl,
I appreciate you guys for allowing me to talk to you and spread awareness. It is such a, important topic, and we have to try to stop it. We really do. We have to try to help our children in this world, because our children become adults, and then it's bigger problems.
Yeah. Well, tell Rob we said hello, and tell.
I will, and when he writes his book or does some public speakings, you can talk to him about his miracle.
I have a million questions about his miracle, and I'm
all right. Maybe one night you can talk to him.
I would love to. That would make us. That would mean the world. But I'm going to stop recording. But I would like to chat with you for like 10 more seconds, if that's okay.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Okay, thank you.